Aliens. They're coming. They're coming.
Yeah, I'll get her legs.
We're taking a closer look at the nearly incoherent ramblings of a woman who police say caused a chain reaction crash in Miami while she was high on what's called pink cocaine. This as she faces even more charges. We're going to discuss the evidence against her with trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Maecee Lathers calls herself an Instagram model, posting seductive photos of herself, seemingly in the hopes of maybe getting jobs at parties and events in the Miami area. But police say her decision to speed through an intersection and slam into another car might put her behind bars for a long time. That is the allegation that she is facing, and we are getting a look at what first responders were dealing with as they responded to this deadly crash at around 6:45 a.m. on August 10th. Bodycam video shows the wreckage of 3 cars. Investigators say Lathers was driving around 80 miles an hour in a white Mercedes with her foot on the gas pedal 100% when she allegedly ran a red light and crashed into a black Range Rover. And that collision caused the SUV to smash into a Suzuki. 2 people in that car were killed in this crash, identified by family as Abraham Ismael Molina Cruz and his friend Jesus Rubio. Abraham's partner, Juanita Hernandez, was also in the crash, but she survived. She says they were just on their way to work when this happened. And the driver of the Range Rover also survived this crash. Now, Law&Crime. We have obtained body cam footage from Miami police that shows an officer's arrival at what is truly a chaotic scene, where first responders are working to remove at least one person from the crushed car. And a block away, the officer finds one of his colleagues guarding a woman who is laying on the ground with her hands cuffed behind her back, and that is 24-year-old Maecee Lathers. And she appears to moan and seems to roll around in pain and is really unsure of what exactly is going on. Now, witnesses would later tell police that she walked away from the crash, her crashed Mercedes-Benz, that she tried to leave the scene entirely, but they stopped her. And the officers are trying to figure out if Lathers has any injuries, and that's when she reveals that she took a drug known as 2C, or pink cocaine. Now, if you don't know what that is, according to an NYU Medical School report that was published in 2023, this is usually a combination of a lot of different drugs: ketamine, ecstasy, cocaine, meth, opioids, other psychoactives. It's a synthetic drug. Researchers say that its pink color, it's just for looks, so don't be surprised. Take a look at this video.
Ma'am.
Recovery position.
She's what? Hey,
Relax,
hey,
relax,
chill out,
relax.
chill out.
Relax.
Chill out.
Relax.
¿Ustedes vieron lo que pasó?
Reference. I need rescue here to check on one of the passengers in the vehicle. Miami and 8 on the southeast, one corner, black shirt, blue jeans.
Just stay like that.
Relax, stay on your left because you're going up.
Stay like that. Look that way.
Ma'am, can you stay over there looking that way?
Put that leg straight.
Yeah. No, that's good. She'll be sideways, but. Oye, ma'am.
Relax, relax.
She's good, right? Vamos a levantarla y llevarla ahí. What the rest you say? I think you were involved in the crash.
She probably won't be able to walk.
Does anything hurt you? Who had her detained?
We have real-time monitoring. Any real-time? Real-time monitoring.
Did you get the other people from the car?
Yeah, more. The other car, I think one is...
My mole.
What? Ma'am, what car are you driving?
Mercedes.
Is it?
My name
That's
is
a car?
Mercedes.
Calm down.
I'm from the future.
Awesome, amazing.
Oh, Crystal Ball.
Are you on drugs? What do you want?
Oh, fly.
4514.
They gave her a shot.
I mean, the female that we have detained, we can advise fire rescue. She just told us now she's on 2C. So, joke. She's gonna be one of the vehicles that got into a collision. She's claiming she's on 2C.
Is this unrelated?
Yeah, no, it's related. They had her detained. She's with the white Mercedes. They got into an accident.
You had a neck pain? I had no neck pain.
She walked away from she's trying to leave the scene.
Lift your right arm up?
No, she's coming.
Oh, she's coming.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll sit her up. We're going to assess her. Just try to make sure she's not like a trauma alert.
Perfect.
Okay, now you're...
Ma'am.
Relax. Remember I told you to relax? Get up. Get her up. Get her up. She's facing us. Sit down.
Apparently what he did, we're just going to do a quick assessment in the back. And go from there.
She provided what you guys do?
She's on 2C. So she said right now. She's like, oh, I'm from the future. Okay, hold on, man.
We'll get her there. If she's on 2C.
Yeah. Let me just, porque supposedamente they crashed and she tried to leave the scene. So.
Alright, then I'm just going to need an officer to come with us.
Yeah, gotcha. No problem.
Aliens. They're coming.
Yeah.
I'll get her legs.
Go. Aliens are coming.
Now, according to the state, Lathers' toxicology report found that there was no alcohol in her system, but there was a variety of drugs. By the way, as we hear cases like this and we think about what defendants' arguments will be in court, especially in cases where the evidence can seem quite overwhelming, it just shows you, in my opinion, the importance of having really good lawyers, right? We talk about that all the time. Well, with that in mind, how could I not quickly call out another great law firm, Morgan & Morgan, our proud sponsor here on Sidebar. Look, the truth is, if you should get injured, this firm with over 1,000 attorneys may be who you want in your corner. They're America's largest injury law firm for a reason. They win a lot. Morgan & Morgan's clients, they not only get a legal team, but they get case investigators, paralegals, specialists. There's no upfront fee. You only pay them if you win. The whole process can be done straight from your smartphone. It is super streamlined. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC Sidebar. Okay, let's get back into it. Lathers originally faced 8 counts when she first appeared in Miami's bond court, where it was revealed that not only did she not have a driver's license, but apparently she had been banned from having one.
After the crash, there's video surveillance of her exiting the vehicle and walking northbound away from the crash, never rendering aid or calling 911 to assist those who were injured in the crash. Unknown bystanders grabbed the defendant and took her back to the scene of the crash and held her until the police arrived. So basically the cars were all landed in different locations. And when the police arrived, they saw that she was under the influence. I guess police were assisting her. They asked her questions. She advised she was under the influence of 2C, a known party drug, and that she was from the future and had a crystal ball. And she was placed in a recovery position until fire rescue arrived because she was vomiting. And so victim 1 had to be extracted from the vehicle 3 and was transported to the hospital, rider trauma, and in critical condition, and was later pronounced deceased due to his injuries. Victim 2 was removed from vehicle 3 and transported to Jackson with facial and arm lacerations. Victim 3 was pronounced deceased on the scene by the fire rescue. Victim 4 was transported to JMH in stable condition. So there's 2 people that died and 2 that were injured. The vehicle was registered to her, but she doesn't have a Florida's driver's license. And a further search revealed that under her date of birth and name, she has a Florida driver's license, and it was suspended indefinitely January 16th of 2024. So that's what this case is about.
After prosecutors got the data from a vehicle search warrant, they added more charges. And that data showed just how fast Lathers was driving at the time of the crash and that she really didn't let up on the accelerator. The speed limit on that stretch of road is our understanding to be 30 miles an hour, but the car's computer apparently showed that Lathers had been going 57 miles per hour and then sped up to nearly 80 miles per hour before impact. Lathers had been given a $140,000 bond at her bond hearing, which she posted. Her attorney says that she was preparing to leave detention when she was hit with the additional charges. So $26,000 was added to the previous bail amount, plus stricter rules for Lathers' house arrest. And she had been out on bond for a couple of weeks when she was once again back in court. And this time she was put in cuffs and hauled off to jail. And that is because prosecutors added 2 new DUI manslaughter charges for allegedly driving under the influence. And reporters in the courtroom say that Lathers seemed to look surprised that she had to sit with other inmates in court for their hearings. Prosecutors did some rearranging of the charges against Lathers, and she now faces 10 counts. And we double-checked with the Miami-Dade County, and these are the charges that we see. 2 counts of DUI manslaughter for the deaths of Ismael and Rubio, which includes the aggravating factor of failure to render aid. 1 count of DUI causing bodily injury to another. 1 count of reckless driving causing serious injury. 3 counts of driving without a driver's license resulting in injury or death. 2 counts of vehicular homicide caused by failure to stop. 1 count of leaving the scene of an accident involving death. Juanita Hernandez was also in court this past week when Lathers was taken into custody, and she told local outlet NBC6 that it was a horrible feeling seeing her and that she didn't look remorseful. She said the defendant is a danger to society. Lathers has pleaded not guilty to all charges. She's expected back in court again next week for a pretrial detention hearing. Now I want to bring on Florida trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg. Alexis, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. My understanding is you are in Fort Lauderdale, not too far from Miami. Just starting off, when we talk about 2C, when we talk about pink cocaine, is that prevalent in that area? Is that something that people talk about?
Thank you for having me on, first of all. Well, Miami, the area of Miami, when it comes to the club scene, it does seem to have a history of being a leader in these type of club drugs. So pink cocaine is what they refer to as a club drug, and this drug, as you kind of touched upon, is a combination of drugs, which you brought up is very interesting because she didn't have any alcohol in her system.
Yeah, no, she didn't have any alcohol in her system. So it seems like it's really, we're focusing on the 2C, on the drug, which makes me think how she's going to defend herself. And I'll get to that in a second. But first I want to go to this new development, this new footage that came out. How does this footage affect the case?
Well, it's going to be it appears to be that it's going to be a very much of an uphill battle for whoever is defending this case. Because now we have footage right after and of her state and how she was, not just the testimony that would ultimately come out if there's a trial about what she was saying and how she was acting. I think that there is a lot of damaging evidence against her. I mean, just her admissions, which they're going to have a hard time keeping out, as well as the state she was in. And the pictures, I mean, the pictures of these vehicles are really, really going to be impactful on a jury. What would be a defense here? The only defense that I could possibly think of is that she didn't actually ingest the drugs, meaning that intentionally. Maybe somebody spiked her drink or something of that nature, and she didn't know. But the thing was, she does make that admission, and during that admission, she doesn't say that she thinks somebody put something in her drink. Or during the admission that, I don't know, I'm not feeling right. She knew exactly what that, she had taken and ingested. So that would still be a very much of a uphill battle as well. The reason I say that is because there's a case that came out, and now I look at drug-induced crimes very differently. It was the Bryn Spetcher case
This woman stabbed a man over 100 times, and she had a marijuana-induced psychosis. And in that case, yes, she was convicted of manslaughter, but the judge ended up sentencing her to probation, not prison. So now I look at all these cases a little bit differently, and I think it matters in terms of what was ingested, how was it ingested, what did you know of this drug? So obviously we're still developing some of the facts here. There could be a fact pattern. I'm not saying it's true, but there could be a fact pattern where she says, you know, I didn't realize I ingested 2C, but I've taken it before, so I knew what it was. I knew what the effect was on me. Maybe that's why she said, yeah, I'm high on 2C. But do you think that that could be a possibility where you take this drug, you might not know the effects it would have, you don't anticipate the effects that it would have, and you get behind the wheel, you cause a terrible crash, you don't mean to walk away? Not to say that she wouldn't be found guilty, but maybe she wouldn't necessarily go to prison for many years. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I think that case is slightly different in the sense that marijuana generally overall does not have the effect of making you go and stab somebody like that. So I think that there was a stronger argument to be made that was extremely unusual under those circumstances. However, in this case, this is a cocktail of drugs that going in, you pretty much don't know. You're playing Russian roulette in a way because you don't really know what exactly is in it, and you're going in that with open eyes, as well as some of the effects that she had, the hallucinations and things of those nature that are coming out are consistent with that particular drug. Now, getting behind the car and driving fast and hallucinating, we would hope she wouldn't get behind the wheel, but the hallucinations would be consistent with what you were trying to achieve if you were trying to take this drug. And
taking, as if she really was hallucinating, talking about aliens and things like that she's from the future, would make sense. Why was she hit with the DUI manslaughter charges now, and what do you have to prove in order to get a conviction for those?
So they were waiting, the state attorney, because they wanted the toxicology to come back to show what was in her system and the levels that were in her system. Like you had mentioned, initially the police officers weren't sure if she was manifesting the way she was initially because she was injured. They really didn't know what was going on, because it's not unheard of if somebody, hits their head and has a concussion, it can manifest in different ways. So, they weren't sure about that. So they were waiting. That was the main reason for that. I mean, the manslaughter, the vehicular homicide in Florida is pretty easy to prove in the sense that we have that you were, driving recklessly. I think that's going to be easy. And someone basically died due to it. So I don't think there's no intent. You don't have to have the intent that you want to harm somebody. It really is, they get through the intent that way, that you had the intent to get behind the wheel, and then you acted in the manner that you acted, and because of that, somebody died. So, I mean, that's going to be based on the facts that we're hearing, unless something else comes out. That's going to be pretty easy for the prosecution to get a conviction on that.
And what is she looking at in terms of a potential punishment? My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the manslaughter could be, 4 to 30 years in prison? But she's also hit with numerous charges. So what could she potentially be looking at if she's convicted across the board?
Well, the vehicular manslaughter is a maximum of 15. So, but she's looking at, with all of these, potentially 30 years. That's a long, long time. Now, unfortunately, because we do have 2 individuals that are deceased, the likelihood of, even if she was convicted by a jury, that she would be sentenced to that is pretty low. It really is pretty low. I don't believe...
Why do you say that? Why do you say that, considering 2 lives were taken in what is arguably, she hasn't been found guilty yet, but what is clearly a senseless case? They were on their way to work, and the allegation is some girl who's high on, this synthetic drug just slams right into them, killing them. Is 30 years outside the realm of possibility?
I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility, but generally overall, if you look at sentencing, that in that area, that's not customary. I mean, this has gotten a lot of media attention, so it may be that. First of all, likelihood is this isn't going to go to a trial. She's probably going to take a plea. But that being said, I think it hasn't come out. I believe she didn't really have a prior record other than the suspended license. Now, the court is going to take that into consideration for sure if we get to the sentencing phase. But whether she has a prior record is going to be calculated into that as well. I'm assuming that she would also put forth different individuals that would come forward and say she's an amazing human being and this was just a mess up, or she was a drug, had a dependency issue. And if I was her attorney, I would advise her to get in a rehab right now, because really that, when it comes to sentencing, is going to be a huge thing. Are you acknowledging you had a dependency issue, as well as are you seeking treatment?
What would be a deal? What would a deal look like?
I definitely think the deal in this situation is going to include actually her serving some time. I'm not saying that they're going to offer a deal that she doesn't serve some sort of time. The question is, how much time is she going to serve? I mean, I'm just not, like we've been discussing this. What are her defenses? Her defenses really are, okay, somebody put something in her drink. Possibly they could try at sentencing what you said about reducing it because she didn't realize she was going to react that way. But now she's all over social media as well, that we've got her appearing like she's partying pretty much all the time in some form. And so that could potentially come in as well if she tries to play that or argue that she, had never done this before, this drug. But now we have posts where she's out on yachts, with drinks in her hands. She's really seems to appear from her social media that she was in that scene.
I was going to ask you if any of that social media content would make its way in. That's an interesting perspective about it. Now, obviously, the defense would say it's irrelevant, it's prejudicial. Bond hearing. You talk about the idea of she should get herself in a rehab. She's currently in jail. There's going to be a bond hearing next week. What do you think the likelihood is that her defense could mount a successful argument that she should be out pending trial?
Under the circumstances, I don't think they're going to win that. But related to the, going for help, going to rehab, her attorney can file a motion and ask that she's able to do that. The likelihood is the court, depending on the type of place that she was seeking to go, would probably grant that. In my experience, they want to support that. And it's just a question of how restrictive that is, that, she can't come and go, check herself out. And they would put in parameters about that.
Well, to end this and to put a bow on this and going back to the victims in this case, there has been this GoFundMe that has been set up. And Ms. Hernandez, who I mentioned, wrote this, and I want everybody to hear this. Abraham's son, just 16 years old, has been left without the love and care of his father, who was his whole world. Due to my injuries, and I am unable to work at the moment, and the young man's life has changed radically. His mother, who lives in Nicaragua and suffers from Parkinson's, is also now grieving, helpless, and without the financial support her son provided. Again, just a really tragic situation, sad situation. We will see how it progresses, whether a plea deal will actually happen, and in the immediate future to see if she's out on bond next week. Alexis Rosenberg, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.